Alright, welcome back everybody to the Pod to Gone for episode 8. Now, as most of you long-standing listeners will know, so far in my very short, let's not call it a career in covering MMA, that would be delusional, I've been very guilty of being biased, one-dimensional, and dare I say, even hypocritical in how I have chosen to cover this sport thus far. Before I get into the meat of this video, I'm just going to say this straight up. The UFC is not what the sport is called. And many fans, casual fans, are still not aware of this. Now, MMA is the sport, and believe it or not, there are other major organizations, kind of, out there, that do this stuff too, just arguably not as well. Do they present themselves well? No. Do they market themselves well? No. Do they offer the same entertainment and interaction? Hell no. Now, I will say this. I'm all too aware that I am part of this problem on social platforms that elevate the UFC higher and higher by constantly covering them while virtually ignoring every other organization. By that, I am of course referring to the fact that outside of these podcasts I've done, where we do discuss various general topics in MMA on the whole, and I think it was one video where I conducted an MMA versus boxing debate. Check that one out. Boxing fans are still after my head for that one. My entire channel is entirely UFC focused. It's pretty pitiful. So, in 2024, the nut riding has to stop. Or at least I have to start riding other nuts too. While the UFC is clearly and objectively a superior product with a deeper talent pool, I don't think anyone would question that. My question today is actually, can the competition argue that they at least have the most superior champions? So, with the PFL and Bellator now officially one entity, not to be confused with the Asian MMA powerhouse One Championship, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to refer to them as PFLator because I've tried separating them and it just gets beyond confusing. So now, I'm going to go through each division and discuss who I think actually has the best champion across both organizations. I'll have the UFC on one side and PFLator on the other side. Let's get into this shit sandwich and take advantage, if you only watch UFC, to only learn about some of the killers elsewhere that might actually be worth a watch. Alright, so starting with men's bantamweight. Now the eagle-eyed among you will immediately say, where's men's flyweight? Well, my dear viewer, PFLator has never had and still currently does not have a flyweight division. Imagine that. Imagine depriving your audience of the linguistic genius of a Manel Cap and the in-ring generalship of a Moreno and a Pantoja. Anyway, I'm going to try and be nice and balanced here, so let's just quickly gloss over that and swiftly move to the lightest division existing under the new merger. Now, ironically, bantamweight is actually one division where I can potentially make a hell of a case that one of the best on the planet resides at this organization. So, the champion of this division is the sunny-looking, happy-go-lucky, patchy no-love mix. Let's have a quick look at some of his work.
Incredibly,
Gucci is in trouble here.
Gucci's in big trouble.
I did the job I was supposed to. Own the person that's supposed to win the tournament, the favorite to win it all. I smoked them, wasn't even close. And moving forward, the rest aren't going to be close either. So I'm ready to go. I got a lot of momentum on my side, and I'm the favorite to win this tournament now.
Now, if you think this MFer looks like a mean dude, you should see how the guy fights. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick sidebar here. He's actually bunking up with UFC flyweight Tatiana Suarez, who, while not being my cup of tea, fair play boy. Anyway, He's a 5'11" bantamweight that is rangy and powerful for the division, and as shown in that prior highlight, is known for his ability to get any opponent's back. They actually refer to him as the human backpack, where he pretty much strangles his opponents out until they wake up in Shadow City. While he is known for this primarily, don't be fooled, this guy can actually win in a range of devastating ways. Take a look, for example, at this little nugget of the win that bagged him not just a title shot, but a cool $1 million. Yeah, frightening shit. And I will say that that guy whose head he kneed into orbit, the guy's name is Ruffion Stotts, and a guy that I actually think would also do very well in the UFC too, but I'll get to him on another video. Anyway, after that vicious display, he went on to dominate Sergio Pettis to start his reign as now what I'm calling the Bellator champion. So with the background done, let's talk about what we came here for. Does this guy actually have any chance of beating current UFC champion Sean O'Malley? Now, it's fair to say that O'Malley is the far more superior striker, and that Mix is the far more powerful, dominant wrestling and submission specialist. However, I would argue that the gap between their striking, while broad, is nowhere near the gulf between their ability to dominate in the grappling and apply submissions. That is heavily in Mix's favour. I believe if they were to fight, you could make a very strong case that O'Malley would struggle in not having his usual reach advantage. In fact, usually at bantamweight he's the longer man, but he will be the smaller man in here, and would stand no chance in hell of grappling with this guy. So yeah, I'm going to say it straight off the bat. Bellator arguably has the better bantamweight champion, and gets the first W for me here. Based on what we know, I think Mix would have the advantage. Anyway, if you haven't seen this guy fight, treat yourself. The dude is elite. Some of you would pick O'Malley and would be nut riding a little bit, but at worst, there is a case for either man. Alright, so on to featherweight. Now, the consensus best guy at featherweight at Bellator, this moniker is growing on me more and more every time I say it, is a dude that looks like what would happen if you bred an actual dog with an actual human. So the quicker you get that image out of your mind, the better. So he's the aptly named Patricio Pitbull Patrici. Now, if there was a time that this guy was absolutely devastating in the organization, beating the likes of Curran, Strauss, Corrales, Sanchez, and most notably for you casuals out there, avenging his brother's loss against Michael Chandler. Let's have a little quick look at that one. So yeah, he beats him to become double champ at lightweight, then goes on to beat Archuleta. He loses to AJ McKee, who is really good by the way, only to get that one back and then beat Borix, who is, yeah, he's alright. More impressively, the consensus Bellator GOAT has done so in a variety of different ways, including brutal KOs, submissions, and he can also grind you out by beating you up in a decision. There was a time in his prime when people were arguing that this man could be seen as the best featherweight on the planet. I mean, it's not true, and I don't believe it ever was true, but you could make the argument at his peak. So what chance would he have in a champ versus champ fight against featherweight GOAT Alexander Volkanovski? Well, as good as Pitbull is, he's on a bit of a slide lately. He lost to Pettis at bantamweight, he got annihilated, and then followed that up by getting absolutely brutalized by Chihiro Suzuki over at Ryzen. So yeah, his stock is not at an all-time high, but none of his losses did come in at featherweight, so that is something to consider. I don't think anyone would disagree that Volk would be too strong and too smart in there, and would probably destroy him. So the UFC obviously gets this one back, but there's no shame in losing to that man. I mean, I wouldn't pick any featherweight in the world over Volk, so Pitbull is still somebody who's going to be worth going to watch anyway. So when Bellator booked this guy, Give him a shot at the very least. He's got that entertainment value. Is he the best in the world? No. I could name 5 guys that beat the brakes off him in the UFC at least, but he is entertaining, win or lose. Alright, now we're on to lightweight. In PFL it is a little bit more complex, this one. On one side, you've got the discount GSP, also known as Olivier Aubin Mercier, the most recent tournament winner, and he's 6-0 in the promotion. And while that guy is very good, he had his stint in the UFC, and let's just say it didn't go that well for him. Have a quick look. You also have AJ McKee, who, while not the champion, is an impressive 21-1 in the promotion with a very well-rounded skill set that would make for some promising matchups with some of the top guys the UFC has to offer. Let's have a little look at this guy. Ultimately though, he doesn't have any gold, so doesn't qualify for this comparison. Now the obvious choice would be Usman Nurmagomedov, who is currently the PFL lightweight champion and an impressive 17-0. The caveat with this guy though is, and I do need to mention this right out of the gate, he recently popped for using a performance enhancer and was given a paltry 6-month suspension. And anyway, he's still the champion, so we're gonna go with him as the best that that organization has to offer at this weight class. Now again, this guy represents a new breed of Dagestanis that are not just devastating wrestlers, but can light your ass up with proficient, high-level striking on the feet too. Once again, let's get a little sample of what this man can do. So as is highlighted here, you can see that the guy mixes combat sambo and striking in such a diverse way that it makes him pretty much a nightmare wherever the fight goes. Now watching this guy in action, you could make a strong case that style for style, that even if he doesn't beat Islam, at the very least he would represent a very tough challenge. Personally, considering that the level of competition Islam has faced and has beaten in the UFC, Volk twice in particular, you would have to go with him, but no one can tell me that that matchup is not intriguing on paper. They both have similar strengths, very few weaknesses, and the only real difference is that one guy got caught and popped and is juiced, and the other guy didn't and is juiced. I would edge Islam based on the competition, but a case can be made on either side for sure. Who knows what goes on when they spar? They clearly have aligned themselves with different organizations for a reason. Again, he's another great fighter worth watching over at PFL, and for the context of this video, is the one guy in any organization that I actually think gives Makhachev a test at 155. I really think that it is a shame that we're never going to get to see this one. Alright, welterweight is another interesting bag here. Let's have a little look here. Now, the two guys we essentially have at the top of welterweight, and technically both champs at PFL are Jason Jackson, who won the belt recently off Amasov, who was 27-0 at the time. Let's get a quick look at Jackson. So yeah, as you can see by the diverse striking and the wrestling range, the entries, the highlights speak for themselves. This is a very well-rounded dude that came onto the scene a little bit late, but is very well skilled. Now, on the other hand, you've got Magomed Karimov, who, despite looking like a wet pudding, is actually pretty damn dangerous. Here are a few highlights of that flabby-looking individual. What to do? You know what? I'm going to focus on Jackson. He is the more well-rounded example here, and frankly, Magomed Karimov has been fighting tomato cans for years, and he's got a few more losses on his record as well. They are actually slated to fight each other at some point in this year. Not anyone will be watching, so it doesn't really matter. And I might end up with egg on my face here, but I favour Jackson for the reasons I'm about to explain. He also gives me a chance to compare two Jamaican fighters and champions, and I can't pass up on this golden opportunity. He is the one who has a belt as well, and not just a novelty $1 million check. Yeah, so he's going to be the guy. So yeah, looking back at Jackson's skill set, how would he match up against current UFC champion Leon Edwards? The champion of the UFC has developed great takedown defense, is an elite sniper, and probably better than Jackson as a marksman, but less powerful, so that would maybe be a tough one to call. Jackson, though, is a way better wrestler, and his skills on the ground are elite. You can't leave a limb out against this man. Now, the only reason I'm not sure about this matchup is because I've said this about Leon in the past. He might not have the most fan-friendly style out there, well, certainly not as much as Jackson, but he has a way of getting you to fight in his realm and at his pace. It's kind of by how he manages distance and the danger he just seems to constantly present. Now, truthfully, I don't really know who would win this fight, but that just highlights to service my point. At the very least, I think another PFL Tour champion would be very competitive, and if you're an actual fan of the sport and lucky enough to hear about the booking of this one, watch it. His fight with Magomed Karimov should be fireworks. Alright, so middleweight. This is an easy pick, as PFL previously had no middleweight division before this merger, which, to be honest, I didn't realize when I started this video out, and I'm a little bit lost for words about that. So, PFL's representative for this one will be current middleweight champion Johnny Eblen. Straight off the bat, before I start, I don't like this dude. He seems to come across as a bit of a prick. Now, the way that he behaved and showed no humility in victory when beating Fabian Edwards really ground my gears in the wrong way. Anyway, this list is not about what the personalities are like. I just had to mention it because I dislike him that much. Anyway, let's have a look at what Eblen brings to the table. Alright, so to summarize, Eblen is pretty good at using feints, which he kind of needs because his striking is pretty sloppy. And let's just say he doesn't have that textbook quality, but he uses the feints and power to close the distance. And once he grabs a hold of you, his wrestling is so elite that he's getting you down once it's there. Once he does get it there, he's not just going to sit on your face and wait for a decision. He's going to take risks and go for massive ground and pound down there, which, as you can see, is really hard to defend and deal with. Those two weapons make him formidable, and he has used them to great effect to make a joke out of the company's current division. Well, more of a joke is probably more accurate. So yeah, how would Eblen fare against current UFC champion Sean Strickland? Again, it's an interesting one. Sean is the most defensively responsible fighters in MMA and puts on a constant pressure style that is a real pain in the ass to deal with, especially when he starts gathering momentum, and especially when he gets that jab range going. Ask Israel Adesanya. Also, while we haven't seen it in the cage much because he hates using it, he is apparently a really high-level offensive and defensive wrestler. But like I said, until I see it in there, I'm just going to have to reserve judgment. Now, Strickland also doesn't have much power, unless he's again hitting Israel Adesanya, so I could see Eblen walking through a few to get to his favourable positions. Strickland is the much slicker, accurate striker, but in that instance, how effective would it be? It would be a close matchup based on the strengths they both have, but I'd probably edge Eblen, just because that relentless pressure to get you down and what he does when he gets you there makes him a massive problem. Either way, we serve up another example of a champion in PFL tour that could at the very least be competitive right at the top. His problem is the rest of the competition in his division absolutely sucks. Might be champion for the next 20 years. Alright, so light heavyweight. I've just realised that up to this point, I've pretty much been selecting Bellator champions over PFL champions. It's pretty distressing when you consider who acquired whom. So let's have a quick look and see if that trend is going to be broken at the 11th hour. Okay, so Impaka Sanganai is the PFL light heavyweight champion. Wait a minute. Lol. Yeah, he's the guy that got sparked out, by the way. Imagine what Alex Pereira would do to that guy. I'm pretty sure he called out Ngannou as well at some point. Dude is beyond delusional. So yeah, once again we have to go with Bellator champion Vadim Nemkov. So let's have a cheeky gander at his work, shall we? So yeah, Nemkov is a pretty decent striker. He favours straight punches down the pipe over looping strikes, which I personally appreciate, but fourth graders use overhands, so he relies on leg kicks a lot to set things up. I'm not sure that would be a very smart game plan to play with somebody like Pereira, but you know, you do you. I can't really see that working out too well. I think if Nemkov is going to have any success against the current UFC champion, it will be in his ability to add slick trips and a strong, varied takedown game as his most obvious avenue to success. For me, it is an intriguing matchup, purely because despite being a competent striker that manages distance well, Alex would just destroy him in that arena. Adversely, if Nemkov is able to get a hold of him, he's going to ragdoll him pretty easily, and Alex would really struggle to get up as he has in the past. I would favour Pereira actually in this fight, because Nemkov does like to stand a lot, and while his leg kicks are effective, he tends to target the thigh, where Pereira absolutely wallops the calf to hell. I wouldn't like him trading off of him in that at all. The leg kicks will not be very effective. They also have a common opponent in Jiri, who Alex flatlines and Nemkov convincingly lost to. At the end of the day though, styles make fights, and Nemkov is a very well-rounded, and if he could adopt a game plan centered on taking him down quickly, it could land in his favour. But based on what I know about both these fighters, he would stand too long setting things up, and I'd expect Alex to absolutely ruin his legs and take his weapons away before he has a chance to use them. Still, Nemkov could hang in the division, and I guess there are reasons to believe that it could be a competitive fight. I'd take the UFC champion this time though. All right, so we are about to have a Bellator representative clean sweep here. Let's have a look at what we're working with, though. God's sake, the PFL are so embarrassing. I'm kind of losing the point of my own video here. It started out so well. I've gone kind of rogue on this one. All right, so the PFL heavyweight champion is Renan Barrera, who won the PFL tournament this year. And don't get me wrong, that dude is a behemoth and a powerful guy, but he's just not very technical. On the other hand, the Bellator heavyweight champion is Ryan Bader. The same Ryan Bader that Daniel Cormier had this to say about.
There's somebody else that needs his ass kicked too. I think he's around here. That's Ryan Bader's ass, and I'm gonna beat the shit out of him next time. You keep talking, Bader. Keep talking, Bader. Keep talking. Keep talking. This guy's so disrespectful. I'm trying to fight Anthony Johnson, and Ryan Bader's writing me stupid messages on Twitter because he wants the people to think that he deserves a title shot. Come on, Ryan. You can come and fight me. You just can get your ass kicked like you were going to do in June. Okay? I didn't get out of any fights. Ryan, I didn't get out of any fights. Not once did I say I didn't want to fight Ryan Bader. I asked him to fight you because I just want an easy paycheck. I knew that I wanted to fight you. I asked to fight you multiple times, Bader. Bader, come on. I asked to fight you. They said, Daniel, what do you want? I said, I want the easiest fight in the division. I want Ryan Bader.
All right, so to call this slim pickings is a horrible understatement. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go with Bader as he's defended his belt multiple times and we can't really call him a flash in the pan. It's kind of a waste of time, but for consistency, let's have a look at some of Bader's highlights, if we can really call them that. Alright, so I've capped quite a lot in this video already, but let's be honest, what case can I make for this useless lump? I know the highlights look pretty good, but the majority of his fights are boring and terrible, and I don't know, with John Jones, or if you want to give him a wider chance, Tom Aspinall, would both kill this man. We're basically talking a first round sleepy time nap here. Bader had his time in the UFC and was pretty bang average. He is a very decent wrestler, but Jones and Aspinall are both savages in that department. He's a sloppy, plodding striker. Jones and Aspinall, the latter in particular, are both really elusive and explosively accurate. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird way to end the video, but Bader would be fodder in the UFC heavyweight division, certainly anywhere inside the top 5. So yeah, we can forget about him. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hoping to do more cross-promotional content in the future. Let me know if you enjoyed it or if you are like the 99% of the MMA fan base who couldn't give one solitary shit. I don't really blame you. As always, comment and share. If you do not mind, it's always appreciated. Helps with the algorithm, apparently. I'm not going to pretend to understand it at all. Yeah, but check out some of the other videos and pods on the channel. Have a wonderful week. And look out for the breakdown of that half-assed fight night card on Tuesday, where I get back to adding picks. It should be a good one. It's Walker and Ankalaev happening on the, I think it's the 12th or 13th of January. But I'm going to break that down on Tuesday in detail. So look forward to that with the betting predictions and tips as well, of course. Yeah, in a bit. Have a great one. Peace.